Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. In this midterm election year, there's now every indication that Donald Trump's Republican Party is in deep trouble. The latest polls show the GOP has lost key support among Latino voters and younger Americans, the two groups that powered Donald Trump and the GOP in 2024. We'll get to the polls in a moment. First, interview after interview with Trump voters shows that many are bewildered by Trump's recent threats to invade Greenland.
I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form.
So that's not what you voted for?
No.
Ebersol's take on Washington? Trump picks too many fights. And people in Congress, she says, worry too much about money and power and too little about family farmers or finding compromise.
You're open to voting for a Democrat?
Of course. I think that you have to vote for the person that best meets your goals.
On top of frustration with members of Congress and Trump's ambitions to take over Greenland and break up the NATO alliance, Republican voter anger is also rising over deportation raids. Because while conservative voters generally support closing down the border, most voters, including a majority of Republicans, according to the polling, believe the arrests and deportations of non-violent migrant workers has gone too far. A year ago, when Donald Trump took office, a majority of Americans supported Trump's overall approach to immigration. Now, Trump is underwater in immigration by double digits.
61% of Americans in a new AP poll say they disapprove of the president's handling of immigration. That rises to 67% for independents. And 57% of voters in a new Quinnipiac poll say they disapprove of the way ICE is enforcing immigration laws.
That enforcement has included targeting people merely because they look or sound Latino. There have been raids at grocery stores, schools, churches, restaurants, and more. And the Trump administration's own data shows that less than 10% of all migrant workers arrested have a record of violent crime.
Ordinary Americans differentiate between going after criminal illegals, people who have come into the country illegally and then violated our laws again, often in violent ways. And that's enormously well supported. But the data suggests that the people who came here illegally but have kept their nose clean and are working today in construction or hospitality or agriculture, that Americans have a more forgiving attitude about them. And the more that the administration looks like it's going after the second group and not the first, the lower the numbers have gotten on immigration.
The numbers have also been pushed down, not just because the Trump administration has targeted migrant workers with no violent record, but also because the overall ICE strategy often appears to violate constitutional due process and trample on basic rights. Every day now, particularly in states like Minnesota, ICE is being photographed raiding homes and businesses without a court warrant. Recently, an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis, Renee Good, as Miss Good tried to drive away. The heavy-handed, arguably illegal, and clearly random ICE approach has turned off Donald Trump's own supporters. Again, here's Karl Rove.
They would like the president to keep focused on getting rid of the bad people, the people who have come here illegally and then committed a crime, a violent crime, but they're not so excited about the other. And we see it a little bit. You mentioned the Quinnipiac poll, the AP National Opinion Research poll. There's also a Quinnipiac poll. 53% said the shooting of Miss Good was not justified. 35% said yes. 57% said they disapprove of how ICE is handling themselves. 40% approve. So this is an issue that, as you said earlier, was a big plus for the president early on because focus was stopping the flood.
But now, instead of stopping the flood across the border, the focus is on deporting migrant workers who are already here. And that action, with all of its randomness and violence, is turning off Donald Trump's own political supporters. Karl Rove is based in Texas, and he says that if the election were held today, Republicans would lose several Texas congressional races that they won in 2024. Keep in mind, Texas has been redistricted by the Republican State House in a manner that should net the GOP 5 additional Republican seats. But this depends on Republicans maintaining the sort of support among Latino voters that Trump had in 2024. Now, Latino support for Trump and the GOP is down from those margins by 20 to 25 points, depending on the poll. And in several House races in Texas, the erosion of Latino support will make a huge difference.
I believe so. Take the district that runs from Corpus Christi to Brownsville. Donald Trump carried the district. but he carried it by 1 point. So if his support is softening among Hispanics, that makes it unlikely that we're going to be able to knock off an incumbent Democrat. Henry Cuellar ran ahead of Kamala Harris by, I think it was nearly 10 points in the district that is centered from Laredo north to San Antonio. Not only did the president give Henry Cuellar, who was under indictment, a pardon, but he then expected him to switch parties, and he ain't switching parties, and that's going to be a difficult district for us to carry, despite the fact that Donald Trump carried it last time around by, I think, 4 or 5 points.
In other words, even according to Karl Rove, instead of Republicans gaining more House seats in Texas, they may see a net loss. And it's largely due to Donald Trump's support cratering among Latino voters. They believe his aggressive immigration policy has gone way too far. Most Americans are disgusted by the deportation raids as well. And when voters are asked about other issues, including the economy and foreign policy, the consensus is that Donald Trump's second term so far has been a clear failure. A lot can happen between now and the midterm elections, and it's possible that Republican lawmakers will find ways to distance themselves from the drag that is Donald Trump. But at this moment, Donald Trump's overreach on issue after issue has become a heavy anvil around the necks of Republican lawmakers. Voters across the political spectrum are in a foul mood, and political analysts in both parties see the Republican brand crashing. Did you know that the big wireless carriers like Verizon and AT&T made over $18 billion in profit last year? How? By overcharging you for unlimited data, most of which you probably aren't even using. But what if you could get paid to use your phone less and only pay for the data you do use? Well, with Noble Mobile, you can. For just $50 a month on their No Bull plan, you get unlimited data, and whatever data you don't use, you get cash back right in your pocket. People who switch to Noble can save an average of $500 to $1,000 a year. It's a no-brainer. And by switching to Noble, you're directly supporting TYT and our mission of bringing you honest, independent news. So give Noble a try and make the switch today. Scan the QR code on the screen now or visit go.tyt.com/plan. That's go.tyt.com/plan. By the way, the ignorance of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is now blowing up in her face.
What you cannot do is just go arbitrarily up to people or set up a checkpoint or go door to door and say, hey, you need to prove to us that you're a U.S. citizen.
And that is legal analyst Ellie Honig blasting Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Thanks for watching. If you found this reporting and commentary valuable, do us a favor and tap the like button. For more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you'll be notified on your YouTube homepage when we drop a new video. If you are tired of corporate spin and want honest, people-focused news, click the join button below and be part of the fight for a better future. We wouldn't be here without your support. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks again for joining us.